My fiancée secretly planned to use me to pay off her debts and upgrade, but I exposed her in front of both families and shattered her reputation. 3 weeks ago, I, a 33-year-old male, thought I was marrying my best friend Sabi, a 30-year-old female. She works at some marketing company downtown, doing social media campaigns for local businesses. We'd been together for 2 years, engaged for 8 months, and honestly, everything seemed pretty solid. She was funny, smart, got along great with my family, and we had this easy thing going. Or at least that's what I thought was happening. I work in sales for a mid-sized company that does inventory management systems. It's not the most exciting job in the world, but it pays well. I'm pulling in around $85,000, which is decent for our area. Nothing fancy, but enough to live comfortably, save some money, and plan a nice wedding without going into debt like idiots. Wedding planning started out pretty smooth. The first few months were even fun. We'd browse vendors, taste cakes, talk flowers. Sabi had strong opinions, but nothing wild. We compromised and kept things balanced. But around month 3, her tone shifted. Little digs crept in, like saying, "I guess Jamaica is fine if that's all we can afford," even though we'd already agreed on the budget. When my mom offered to help with decorations, Sabi gave me a look, and later said she hoped we could maintain some level of taste. She also started spending way more time with her friend group, always texting in this group chat with her college friends, having long video calls where she'd step into the bedroom or go out on the balcony. When I'd ask what they were talking about, she'd just say they were helping with wedding stuff or catching up on drama from work. The weird part was how she'd act after these calls, more distant, almost annoyed with me for no reason I could figure out. I'd try to talk to her about the wedding or just normal relationship stuff, and she'd be short with me, distracted, checking her phone every few minutes. I figured it was just stress. Everyone told us that wedding planning makes couples crazy temporarily. My sister went through the same thing before her wedding, got super anxious, and picked fights with her husband over stupid stuff like napkin colors. So I chalked it up to that and tried to be patient. But there were other things too. Mostly her attitude toward my family. When my dad told stories at dinner, she'd later say, "Some people really love the sound of their own voice." If my mom got excited about the rehearsal dinner, Sabi would roll her eyes and mumble about suburban entertaining. My family isn't perfect, but they welcomed her with open arms. They treated her like family. But Sabi started acting like their kindness was a burden. Looking back now, all the signs were there. But I explained it all away because I wanted things to work. I thought maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe all couples go through rough patches during major life changes. I kept thinking that once we got through the wedding craziness, things would go back to normal. God, I was such an idiot. The breaking point started 3 weeks ago when we were working on the final guest list, just sitting at my kitchen table like we'd done dozens of times before, laptops open, trying to figure out who we could. Cut to get under our venue capacity. Normal, boring couple stuff. Sabi's got her MacBook open with our shared Google Drive folder pulled up. This massive digital wedding planning document, vendor contracts, budget spreadsheets, seating chart attempts, everything organized in folders because Sabi's one of those people who color codes her calendar and labels everything. "Babe, what about your coworker Jessica?" I ask. "I've met her like twice, and she didn't even seem that interested when you mentioned the wedding." Sabi doesn't look up from her screen. "Jessica's staying. She's connected to some important clients at work." Of course, everything with Sabi lately came down to work connections, or how things would look to other people, but whatever. I keep scrolling through names. She gets up to go to the bathroom, leaves her laptop open on our shared drive. I'm adding my cousin Mike's girlfriend as a +1 when I notice this document I'd never seen before. It's just sitting there in the main folder, right between the vendor contact list and rehearsal dinner planning. The file name is Pros and Cons of Staying with Owen. I stared at that title for probably 10 seconds, my brain trying to process what I was seeing, my name in a pros and cons list. Written by my fiancée, just sitting there in our wedding planning folder like it was as normal as a catering contract. My finger hovered over the trackpad. I knew I shouldn't click it, knew it was probably her working through pre-wedding nerves or some therapy exercise her friend suggested. But seeing your own name in what's basically a "should I dump this guy" document kind of overrides normal privacy boundaries. I clicked it. The document opened and my stomach dropped through the floor. This wasn't some quick emotional vent or therapy exercise. This thing was detailed, organized, clinical, almost like she'd put serious thought into categorizing my worth as a human being. The pros section was at the top: financially stable, makes $85,000, good with money, can cover my student loans, family likes me, easy. Holidays, Future babysitter setup, predictable. Won't cheat. Low drama, long term. Safe bet, low maintenance. Doesn't need much emotionally, easy to handle. Each one felt like a knife. She'd reduced me to a financial planning spreadsheet, not he makes me. Laugh or he's kind to my family, or any of the things you'd hope. The person you're marrying would say about you. Just cold, practical. Benefits like I was a good investment rather than someone she loved. The cons list was brutal, boring, stuck in routine, no excitement. Career unlikely to grow beyond current salary. Looks not attractive. Enough long-term, settling, socially awkward. Friends say he lacks sophistication. Family lower class, tacky style and taste. I had to read through it twice because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Every single thing I thought she appreciated about me. My stability, my close family, my simple pleasures, she turned into negatives. And the stuff about my looks? Jesus Christ, I'm not Brad Pitt, but I'm not a troll either. The fact that she was settling on my appearance was apparently something she documented for future reference. But then I scrolled down and found the part that made me want to throw her laptop across the room. At the bottom was a section titled Timeline and Strategy. Stay engaged to avoid losing. Deposits and save face. Act happily married for 6 to 12 months. Use joint finances. To clear $59,000 in debt. Build savings and career network over 2 to 3 years. Exit by 33 with no debt, solid savings, and better options. She had a timeline for our marriage, a business plan for using me, and then moving on. To someone better. 3 years maximum before she'd start looking for her upgrade. My hands were shaking as I took screenshots with my phone, multiple angles. Made sure everything was captured clearly. The whole time, I could hear Sabi in the kitchen, humming while she got her water, probably thinking about how well her plan was working. At the very bottom of the document was a last modified date from 3 days ago. 3 days. This wasn't some old document from when we were having problems. She'd been updating her exit strategy while we were tasting wedding cakes and addressing invitations. There was also a sharing notification that showed the document had been shared with 3 email addresses. Her college friends, Emma, Jess, and Mariah, the same friends she'd been video chatting with constantly, the ones helping with wedding planning. They'd all seen this. They all knew she was using me. I closed the document and tried to act normal. When Sabi came back, she settled back into her chair, completely oblivious to the fact that my entire world had just imploded. "Find anyone else we can cut?" she asked, like nothing had happened. "Yeah, I think we can lose a few people from my work," I managed to say. My voice sounded weird to me, but she didn't seem to notice. We spent another hour going through names, making small talk about the weather and weekend plans. The whole time, I kept thinking about that document, about the cold way she'd analyzed our relationship like a business transaction. She was sitting right there next to me, occasionally touching my hand or making jokes about our crazy relatives, and the entire time, she was planning to leave me once her debts were paid off. When she went to brush her teeth, I forwarded the screenshots to my personal email. Then I cleared the browser history on my laptop and tried to figure out what the hell I was going to do with this information. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, just throw the laptop open and ask her to explain what I'd found. But another part of me, the part that was rapidly getting angrier, wanted to know more first. If she'd documented our relationship this thoroughly, if she'd shared it with her friends, there was probably more I didn't know about. I needed time to think, time to figure out just how deep this betrayal went. That night I barely slept, just stared at the ceiling while she slept peacefully next to me. The woman who had spent months planning to use me for financial stability before trading up to someone more exciting. The next couple of days were absolute hell. I'm talking about walking around like a zombie while trying to act normal in front of Sabi, going to work, having conversations, making dinner, watching Netflix together, all while knowing she'd been planning to dump me after using me to clear her debt. The worst part was how normal she was acting, affectionate, excited about the wedding, making plans for our honeymoon. I kept the screenshots on my phone, looking at them when she wasn't around, trying to convince myself I'd misunderstood somehow. Maybe it was an old document. Maybe it was some kind of therapy exercise. Maybe her friends had pressured her into writing it. But every time I read through it again, it was clear as day, she'd been using me. From the beginning and planning her exit strategy before we even got married. Friday afternoon, I was at work, trying to focus on this client proposal, when my phone buzzed with a text from Grace, Sabi's cousin. She works as a nurse at the hospital downtown. She's always been cool to me, not overly friendly, but not cold either, just normal family politeness. We'd maybe had a dozen conversations in the 2 years I'd been with Sabi. Her text was simple. "Hey Owen, can we talk? It's important." My first thought was that maybe Sabi had said something to the family about our relationship, or maybe there was some wedding drama I didn't know about. Grace had been invited, but she wasn't in the wedding party or anything, so it seemed random. I texted back, "Sure, what's up? Can we meet somewhere?" She replied, "I'd rather talk in person. It's about Sabi." That got my attention real quick. I suggested this coffee place near the hospital where Grace works, thinking maybe she could stop by during a break. We agreed to meet Saturday morning. Saturday rolls around, and I tell Sabi I'm going to run some errands, maybe hit the gym. She's got plans to get her nails done with her mom anyway, so she doesn't ask questions. I get to the coffee place early, order an iced coffee, and sit in the back corner where we can have some privacy. Grace shows up about 10 minutes later, looking nervous as hell. She's in scrubs, obviously coming straight from work, and she keeps checking over her shoulder like she's worried someone might see us together. "Owen, I need to tell you something about Sabi," she says before she even sits down. "I've been going back and forth on this for weeks, but after seeing how excited you are about the wedding and how much money you're spending, I can't let you go through with it without knowing the truth." My stomach drops because I already know this is going to be bad. "What kind of truth?" Grace pulls out her phone and starts scrolling through screenshots. Sabi's been in this group chat with her friends Emma, Jess, and Mariah for months. They talk about everything: work, dating, family drama, all that stuff. But lately, most of their conversations have been about you and the wedding. And Owen, it's really bad. She shows me the first screenshot. It's from a group chat called Girls Night Forever with 4 participants. The message is from Sabi, dated about 6 weeks ago. Update on the Owen situation. Still on track with the plan. He's already transferred money for the honeymoon deposit, and he's covering like 80% of wedding costs. Should have my loans completely cleared by Christmas if everything goes according to schedule. Emma responds, "Girl, you are so smart. Get that financial security locked down." Jess, "How much longer do you think you'll actually stay married though?" Sabi, "Honestly, 2 years max, maybe 3 if I need more time to build up savings, but definitely not longer than that. I'll be 33 by then, and that's like the cutoff for finding someone actually worth marrying long term." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Seeing it in the Google Doc was one thing, but seeing her casually discussing it with her friends like it was a totally normal strategy made it so much worse. Grace scrolls to another screenshot from a few weeks later. "Mariah, how's the wedding planning going? You must be getting excited." Sabi, "Oh, it's so much work. And Owen's family keeps trying to get involved with everything. His mom suggested we do a potluck rehearsal dinner to save money. Like, no thanks. I'm not trying to have my wedding weekend look like a church picnic." Emma, LOL. "Suburban people have zero taste. At least you only have to pretend to care about their opinions for a few more years." The screenshots kept coming, message after message of Sabi and her friends tearing apart me and my family, making fun of my job, my hobbies, my parents' house, even the engagement ring I'd bought her. Grace had screenshots going back months, a detailed record of Sabi mocking our entire relationship while playing the happy fiancé to my face. But then Grace showed me something that made my blood run cold. It was a voice message from Sabi to the group chat, sent just 3 days ago. Grace hit play, and I heard Sabi's voice coming through the phone. Speaker, "Oh my God. Owen's mom called about the rehearsal dinner. She wants a baby photo slideshow and keeps saying how excited she is to have a daughter." It's so cringy. She doesn't get that some of us have higher standards than old family stories and garden club talk. I swear, pretending to care is exhausting. Thankfully, I won't have to do it forever. Emma's voice responded, "Girl, you are such a good actress. I would not be able to keep a straight face." I had to stop the recording. Hearing Sabi laugh about my mom's excitement over gaining a daughter was too much. My mom had been nothing but kind to her, had treated her like family from day one, and Sabi saw it as an annoying performance she had to endure. Grace was watching my face carefully. "Oh, and there's more, a lot more. She's been making fun of everything about you and your family for months. And the stuff about money? She's got it all planned out. How much debt she'll have paid off by when, how much she thinks she can save during the marriage, even backup plans for if you catch on too early." I just sat there, staring at my coffee, trying to process everything. The woman I'd been planning to marry, the woman I'd been supporting financially and emotionally for 2 years, had been systematically mocking me to her friends while calculating exactly how long she'd need to use me before trading up. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked Grace. "Because it's wrong," she said immediately. "Sabi's always been selfish, but this is just evil. You're a good guy, Owen. You don't deserve to be treated like a stepping stone. And honestly, I couldn't stand watching your family get excited about the wedding, knowing what I knew." Grace put her phone away and looked at me with genuine sympathy. I'm sorry, Owen. I know this is a lot, but you needed to know before you married her. I thanked Grace and got out of there, my head spinning with everything she'd shown me. The Google Doc had been bad enough, but seeing months of evidence that this had all been a calculated con game was devastating. I spent the rest of the day pretending everything was normal while trying to figure out what I was going to do: confront her, call off the wedding, expose her to both families. All I knew for sure was that the woman I thought I was in love with had never existed. The next morning, Sabi's getting ready for work. I'm watching her put on makeup in the bathroom mirror, and I can't believe how normal she's acting. You seem quiet this morning, she says, putting on lipstick. Everything okay? Yeah, just tired, I tell her, which isn't exactly a lie. She kisses me goodbye and heads off to work. I spend the day at my desk, staring at spreadsheets but not really seeing them. My coworker asks if I'm feeling all right because apparently I look like hell. I tell him it's just wedding stress. By the time I get home Monday evening, I've made up my mind. I need to confront her, not because I think there's some explanation that will make this better, but because I need to see how she reacts when she's caught. Part of me is curious if she'll come clean or try to lie her way out of it. Sabi gets home around 6:30 in the evening, with takeout from this Thai place we both like. She's in a good mood, talking about how her presentation went well and how her boss complimented her on the client strategy. The whole time, I'm thinking about her exit timeline, wondering if landing this client is part of building those professional connections she mentioned. After dinner, we settle on the couch to watch some Netflix show she's been following. I wait until about halfway through the episode, then I pause it. Sabi, we need to talk about something. She looks over at me, probably expecting me to bring up some minor wedding detail or family drama. What's up? I found your Google Doc. The change in her expression was instant. The color drained from her face, and she got this deer-in-the-headlights look. Then her eyes darted to her laptop bag, like she was calculating whether she could grab it and delete something. What Google Doc? She asks, but her voice is already different, higher-pitched, nervous. The one called Pros and Cons of Staying with Owen. It was in our shared wedding folder. She stares at me for probably 10 seconds without saying anything. I can literally see her brain working, trying to figure out how much I know and what her best response is. Owen, that's not what you think it is, she finally says. Really? Because it seemed pretty straightforward, my financial benefits versus my personality flaws, with a timeline for how long you're planning to stay married before you find someone better. Now she's getting defensive, sitting up straighter on the couch. You went through my private documents. It was in our shared folder, Sabi, right there with the vendor contracts and seating charts. That doesn't give you the right to read my personal thoughts. The fact that she's more upset about me reading it than she is sorry for writing it tells me everything I need to know. But I let her keep talking. It was an exercise. Emma suggested I read this article about pre-wedding anxiety and how writing down your fears can help you work through them. It doesn't mean anything real. I pull out my phone. So this was just an anxiety exercise? I read directly from my screenshots. Exit strategy by age 33. Should be debt-free with good savings foundation and an established career connections. Can pursue better options. She's quiet again, probably realizing that her therapy exercise explanation doesn't really cover detailed financial planning. You weren't supposed to see that, she says quietly. But you wrote it, and apparently you shared it with your friends. Her eyes get wide. How do you know about that? So, you did share it. She starts crying. Not the pretty kind of crying you see in movies, but the panicked, desperate kind when someone realizes they're caught. It doesn't mean anything. I was just scared and confused, and my friends were asking me all these questions about whether I was ready for marriage. I wrote down worst-case scenarios, not actual plans. The thing is, she might have been able to sell me on that explanation. A week ago, before Grace showed me months of group chat messages. Before I heard her voice recording about my mom. Before I saw just how detailed and long-term her planning really was. You're twisting everything, she says between sobs, taking things out of context and making them sound worse than they are. She gets quiet again. I can see her realizing that I know more specific details than she thought. You violated my privacy, she says, switching tactics. You went through my personal documents, and now you're using my private thoughts against me. How can I marry someone who spies on me and twists my words? And there it is. Instead of apologizing for planning to use me, she's making herself the victim because I found out about it. Maybe we should cancel the wedding, she continues. Unless you can apologize and promise this never happens again, I can't be with someone I don't trust. I almost laughed at the audacity. She gets caught red-handed planning to divorce me after clearing her debt, and now she's threatening to call off the wedding unless I apologize for discovering it. You know what, Sabi? You're absolutely right. We should cancel the wedding. Her face went white. What? You're right that we shouldn't get married. I agree completely. She's crying harder now, reaching for my hand. Please don't do this. We can go to counseling. We can work on our communication. I'll delete the document and we'll never talk about it again. But I'm done. Seeing her try to manipulate her way out of this, after everything I know, just confirms that Grace was right. This woman has been using me from the beginning, and now that she's caught, her only concern is salvaging her plan. I think you should stay at your mom's tonight, I tell her. We'll figure out the wedding cancellations tomorrow. Oh, please. You're overreacting. Everyone has doubts before marriage. I just wrote mine down, and you're acting like it's some criminal conspiracy. The fact that she's still trying to minimize what she did, still trying to make me feel like the problem for being upset about it just proves that everything in that document was real. Sabi spent another hour crying and begging, trying different approaches, to see what would work. Promised to delete the document, promised to cut contact with those friends, promised to go to therapy, promised to pay for the wedding herself, but it was all just more manipulation. I watched her drive away. Then I sat in my apartment and felt the strangest mix of devastation and relief I'd ever experienced. The woman I thought I was going to marry had never actually existed. Around 10 in the morning the next morning, my phone starts buzzing. Text after text from Sabi. Owen, I'm so sorry. Can we please talk? I talk to my therapist and she says what I did was normal pre-wedding anxiety. I ignore all of them. Then she starts calling. 6 calls in 2 hours. I let them all go to voicemail, but I don't listen to the messages. Around lunchtime, she shows up at my office. The receptionist calls back and asks if I want to see Sabi, and I tell her I'm in meetings all day. Through my office window, I can see Sabi in the lobby, looking frustrated, probably wondering why I won't talk to her. Here's the thing, though. I'm not actually ready to end this completely, not because I want to get back together, but because I want her to face consequences for what she did. Breaking up privately means she gets to control the narrative, tell people we had irreconcilable differences, or that I was acting weird and controlling, make herself look like the victim who escaped a bad relationship. But we've got this pre-wedding family dinner planned for Saturday night. Both sets of parents, my sister and her husband, Sabi's aunt and uncle, who flew in from Denver. Everyone was supposed to meet at this nice Italian place downtown, celebrate the upcoming wedding, give toasts about how happy they are for us. Wednesday evening, Sabi texts me, "Are we still doing the family dinner Saturday?" My parents are asking about details. I text back, "Yes, let's do it. We can work everything out after." She probably thinks this means I'm willing to forgive her, that I've cooled down and realized I was overreacting. Perfect. Thursday, I take a long lunch and drive to an electronics store across town, buy a small USB drive, and spend some time organizing files with everything in them. Friday night, I'm at my brother's place, helping him fix his deck. When he asks how the wedding planning is going, I tell him, actually, there might not be a wedding. What, dude? What happened? I give him the basic overview. His face goes from confused to angry to disgusted. Are you serious right now? She had a timeline for divorcing you. 3 years maximum, just long enough to clear her debt and build up savings? Saturday arrives, and I'm surprisingly calm. I spend the morning at the gym, take a long shower, put on a nice button-down shirt, the kind of outfit you wear to family dinners where everyone's celebrating your upcoming marriage. I get to the restaurant first around 6:45 in the evening. It's this upscale Italian place, called Romano's, that Sabi picked because she said it would set the right tone for our families to meet before the wedding. They've got us in a private dining room in the back with a big table for 10 people. My parents arrived next, followed by my sister and her husband. Sabi shows up with her parents and aunt and uncle right at 7 in the evening. She's dressed perfectly, hair and makeup done, playing the role of excited bride-to-be. "I'm just so excited for everyone to get to know each other better," she says, squeezing my hand. "Owen and I are so lucky to have such wonderful families supporting us." The first hour goes exactly like you'd expect. Introductions, small. Talk about jobs and hobbies. Stories about Sabi and me as kids. Sabi's performing perfectly, laughing at my dad's jokes, asking my sister about her kids, complimenting my mom on her dress. If I didn't know better, I'd think she genuinely cared about these people. Around 8:30 they bring out dessert and coffee. Perfect timing. "Before we wrap up tonight," I say, standing up from my chair, "I think everyone should know what Sabi really thinks about this family she's so excited to join." The table goes quiet. Confused looks all around. "Oh, and what are you doing?" Sabi asks, but I can hear the panic in her voice. I pull out my laptop and the USB drive. "I found something interesting while we were doing wedding planning, a document." Sabi wrote and shared with her friends about our relationship. Sabi's face is pure white now. "Owen, don't do this. Not here." But I'm already plugging into the restaurant's little projection screen they use for business presentations. I think everyone deserves to know what she's been saying about us behind our backs. The Google Doc appears on screen, pros and cons of staying with Owen in big letters at the top. You could hear a pin drop. I start reading highlights from the pros section. My mom looks confused. My dad's face is starting to harden. Then I move to the cons. Sabi's aunt and uncle are staring at her in shock. Her dad keeps saying, "Sabi, what is this? What is he talking about?" But I'm not done. I scroll down to the timeline section. The silence is deafening. Everyone's looking back and forth between me and Sabi, trying to process what they just heard. "That's not real," Sabi says desperately. "He's making this up. He's been acting crazy lately, and now he's trying to sabotage our wedding." So I play the voice recording. My mom actually gasps. I watch her face crumble as she hears this woman she's been treating like a daughter mock her excitement about the wedding. The recording continues, and then you hear her friends laughing. When the recording ends, the silence is crushing. My mom has tears in her eyes. My dad looks like he wants to hit something. Sabi's own parents look mortified. "Sabi," her dad says quietly, "please tell me this isn't real." Sabi's crying now, but it's too late. It's not what it sounds like. He's taking everything out of context. "I was just venting to my friends about wedding stress." "You called my wife uneducated," my dad says, and his voice is ice cold. "You said you were planning to leave my son after using him to pay your debts." "I didn't mean any of it, Owen. Please, you're ruining everything over a misunderstanding." My sister speaks up. "A misunderstanding? You documented a 3-year plan to use my brother and then dump him. That's not venting. That's sociopathic." Sabi's uncle is shaking his head. "Sabi, how could you do this? These people welcomed you into their family." "Everyone just calm down," Sabi's mom says, but even she looks stunned. "There has to be an explanation." I close the laptop and unplug the USB drive. "There is an explanation. Sabi never loved me. She saw me as a financial opportunity with an expiration date. She's been mocking all of you while pretending to care about being part of this family." "Owen, please," Sabi begs. "The engagement is off," I say simply. I grab my jacket and head for the door. Behind me, I can hear Sabi crying and her parents asking her questions she can. At answer, my mom calling my name, probably wanting to make sure I'm okay. But I just walk out of that restaurant, feeling lighter than I have in months. The next morning, I wake up to 47 missed calls and 83 text messages. I make coffee before I even think about dealing with any of it. Messages. From my parents, my sister, Sabi's parents, even her uncle. Most of them are supportive, my family checking if I'm okay. Sabi's family apologizing for what happened. Her dad sent a long text about how embarrassed and disgusted he is, how they raised her better than this. I ignore all of it. But then this text comes from Sabi. "Fine. If you want to destroy me, I can destroy you too." That one gets my attention. I screenshot it, along with a few others that have a threatening tone just in case. Sunday afternoon, my mom comes over with leftover lasagna and this look on her face like she wants to adopt me all over again. We sit on my couch, and she tells me how proud she is that I didn't let Sabi get away with using me. "I knew something was off," she says. The way she'd smile and nod when I talked, but her eyes would just glaze over. I thought maybe she was just shy or overwhelmed with wedding planning. "I'm sorry she said those things about you, Mom, about the garden club and everything." My mom waves it off. "Honey, I don't care what some shallow girl thinks about my hobbies. I'm just sorry you had to go through this. 2 years of your life wasted on someone who saw you as a piggy bank." That evening, Grace called me. "Owen, I heard what happened at dinner. Are you okay?" "I'm good. Honestly, thank you for the heads up." Then she hit me with more. Sabi had started spinning the story to mutual friends, saying I was emotionally manipulative, violated her privacy, and humiliated her while she was just dealing with pre-wedding anxiety. Classic script flip. But Grace wasn't done. She texted me the next night. "Check your email. Send this to everyone." Attached were fake text conversations. Sabi had used a spoofing app to make it look like I was controlling and abusive. Phrases like, "You're not allowed to go out with friends, and if you leave, I'll ruin you." Nonsense. I had the real texts on my phone, but Sabi sent those fakes out to friends, including Grace, forgetting who exposed her in the first place. Then, Grace dropped another bomb. Sabi had done the same thing at work. She mocked clients and coworkers in that chat for months. Stuff like, helping these clueless small business owners feels like stealing, and my boss gained 20 pounds and still squeezes into the same clothes. Disgusting. Grace knew someone in HR, Rachel, and asked if she should send the messages. Do it, I said. By Thursday afternoon, Sabi was in an HR meeting. Her punishment, a demotion from senior consultant to junior associate, a 30% pay cut, no more clients, and 6 months probation. Some of the mocked clients heard about it too. 3 dropped her company by Friday. The contacts she once bragged about using for her post-wedding career leap were now doors slamming shut. Friday evening, Grace called again. She's melting down. Called me crying, said I ruined her life, claimed she was taken out of context, still playing victim. Turns out, her parents are furious too. They gave her $5,000 toward wedding expenses, and now they think she was planning to use it to erase her debt. Her dad found the Google Doc on her laptop, so much for the anxiety excuse. As for me, I'm doing great, better than great actually. I realized how much energy I'd been spending trying to make someone happy who saw me as a temporary inconvenience. Now I wake up every day in my own space, make my own decisions, spend my money on things I actually want. I did something overdue. I rebooked what would have been our honeymoon to Costa Rica solo, swapped the couples package for a king bed, upgraded the room with the money I saved, canceling the wedding. Best money I ever spent.